Okay, so today I'm going to be showing you how to create an 808 and sort of my process to get like big fat 808s. I know everyone wants that kind of underground shadow rap, cloud rap, XXX sound, and here's kind of how I achieve that. So that's kind of what we're going for. I'm going to make a new track and we're going to do this all the way from the beginning. So we're going to be working with Serum. We're going to go to our plugins. We're going to open up Serum. We're going to drag this on here, and I'm going to get rid of these other tracks that we don't need. So go ahead and go to Menu and Net Preset, and that's just going to bring us to an empty blank slate with that lovely sound. So what we can do first of all is click on our oscillator A. We're going to go down to Analog, and we're going to select Basic Shapes. By default, we've got a sine wave, and that's exactly what we want. If I go ahead and play this, you'll hear that bassy sound. Oops, we got to go down a couple octaves right here. Let's go into the sub range. So we're getting there. We have another problem. If we play multiple keys, sounds like shit. They're all going on top of each other. We're going to go ahead and select mono. Now we can play as many keys as we want, and only one of them is going to trigger at a time. Once we have that, we're going to go to the matrix panel or the routing panel. We're going to route LFO1, and our destination is going to be the global master tune. Pretty straightforward. Go back to our oscillator panel, and now we're working with this LFO is modulating this sine wave. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to change the shape, and we're kind of getting the sound we want, that little like down pitch for the 808, but it's repeating. So go ahead and select an envelope so it only triggers one time. And we're going to change the curve. I'm going to bring this down. And if you click here, see where it says 1/4, 1/8, these are speed intervals. We can have a slow interval, really slow, dive bombing, or we can have a fast one that's just like a knock. I'm going to turn off BPM, and I'm just going to set this kind of set it manually. Now we're going to come to this left side. We're going to use this envelope. We're going to hold, turn up, hold, or we're going to turn up the decay. We're going to turn up, hold, and sustain. And then we're going to set our release. Our release is going to give us that long tail of the 808. So if I hit a key right now, you know, nothing happens. I have to hold it down to get it to trigger. Go ahead and set the release, and I'm going to start around between 1 and 140. Now we've got that nice 808 tail that you get from just hitting the key. And if you want a long 808, go ahead and make it longer. If you want it to really ring out long, go for it. If you want a shorter kicky style 808, go for it. I'm going to go around 130. Maybe a little bit more. That's kind of sounding good to me. So we're all wrapped up in Serum. We've got our basic 808, and we've got our pure sub sound. Now we're going to add some harmonics so we can cut through the mix. You can hear it on different speakers, and you can kind of get that aggressive aesthetic that a lot of people are going for in especially the underground scene right now. There's a lot of that going on. So what we're going to do to process this is, first of all, I'm going to go to audio effects, and I'm just going to put a saturator on, and I'm going to turn this up a little. It's pretty subtle. Most of the reason that it sounds better is because the volume is coming up on it. So next we're going to use a plugin called Trash by Izotope. So we're going to go down here, and we're going to go to Izotope Trash 2. Now this thing is a beast. This thing is the harmonics monster. It'll make any clean sine wave 808 bass into something insane. So just to give you an example, I'm going to go to their aggressive presets, which are a little too intense, I think, for our needs. We don't really want that much aggressive distortion. I think a great preset to start with, if you go down to percussive section here in the presets and you select deep wax. Deep wax is a great starting point. We've got that kind of sound going for us. It adds a little bit of stereo width, and that's okay. We'll take care of that later. So what I like to do is click on this distortion panel, and kind of you can select different distortions here. I kind of like this amp drainer. I think it's pretty subtle, and you can adjust the drive of it here. It around 0.5, and then over here we've got this dry wet mix slider, and we can go dry all the way to our pure signal, and we can just add in a little harmonics if that's what we want. I'm going to leave it about the halfway mark. We're going to keep some dry and wet signal mixed together, and here's it before, oh whoops, bypass, sorry, and here's it after. So it's sounding pretty good. Next, I'm just gonna put on a compressor, and the compressor is just going to kind of tone some of those harmonic frequencies a little bit. We're gonna put on soft clip, and we're just catching a little bit of it. That's all we're doing. Next up, we're gonna add an EQ, an EQ8. Oops, that's a 3. I want an 8. So we've got the EQ8, and this is kind of to help shape the sound. Generally, I don't mess with any of the low-end EQ. I don't boost or do anything like that, because then on certain notes, for instance, on certain notes, it'll peak, and I don't know. I don't really mess with that. I usually use it to control these high-end frequencies. If I think I like the sound, but there's a little too much going on up there, I'll bring it. I'll just maybe take out some of the high-end harmonics a little bit, and that's going to depend on your drums, your mix, once everything's come together in a song, okay? And I think that sounds pretty good. I'm going to let a little bit of this back in. And then I'm also going to add a utility, because it's pretty wide in the stereo field, and I'm going to bring this down to about 40. Kind of center up the 808 a little bit more. Here's before. That's with it on. You're only going to hear that if you're listening in headphones right now. So that's pretty much the gist of processing the 808. If you wanted to come back into Trash and you want to play with all these settings, go for it. Mess with the sound to your heart's desire, and then what you can do is you can control the sound using the EQ, and you're pretty much good to go. So now I'm going to show you how to layer this with an 808 kick. So we are going to go up close here, and we're just going to do a little MIDI clip. We're going to just, I think it's Control Shift M. Yeah, there we go. So in here, I think we're going to go with this. We'll just stay on this F here. This sounds pretty good. That sounds great. Let's go ahead and loop this. Let's go up to like a G. Great, we've got an 808 sound. Let's go ahead and rename this track 808. And now I'm going to grab a kick drum, and this drum kit that I'm going to use is available online. I think I found this on Reddit. It's called ONJ's Main Stash 1.5. Go ahead and go into kicks. I'm going to use this Colossal kick, and a reason being is because I think it's the wrong kick here. It's got a lot of low end. It's got too much low end. There's going to be competing frequencies with the 808, and I don't think it's going to sound too good without processing. So here's what that sounds like. So we got some problems. We have clipping. Look down here on the master channel. We've got clipping. It's going into the red. We don't want that. So let's go ahead and turn these down to about -5 decibels. boom, boom. Close enough. And even then, we still are having some issues because there's so much competing low-end frequencies here. What we're going to do to fix that is, first of all, we're going to grab our kick and we're going to throw on an equalizer, and we're going to take out some of this low end that we don't need. Let me solo this. And we're going to give it a little push right here, because we want it to knock. We want that knock, and we want a little bit of low end, but we don't need a ton of it because that 808 is going to be our low sub frequency. So let's hear that together. Sounding a little bit better already. I'm going to bring these two up a little. Oops, that's clipping. Clipping. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to go back to our 808. First off, let's rename this kick. Let's go back to our 808, and now what we're going to do is we're going to put on a compressor. And once you got the compressor on, click this button. It's going to show the other options, and we've got sidechain. Activate the sidechain, and then we're going to use our kick drum to, our kick signal is going to hit, it's going to duck the sound of the 808, and it's going to give them room to breathe. Now we're going to do it in a way that you cannot tell, that the listener cannot tell this is happening. But it's going to be great in the mix. You're going to have a really hard hitting 808 and kick drum. So we're going to switch views here, and as you can see, that is our 808 signal coming through. And we're going to bring this threshold down, and this is going to be our kick. The yellow line is going to be our kick ducking the signal. Let me do it extreme. You can see that when the kick hits, it ducks out all the sound of the 808. We don't want that. We want to find a nice balance here. Let's bring the kick down a little bit. That sounds pretty good. Let me go ahead and highlight both of these, shift click on both, and hit Control G. And now I think we can turn this up a little bit. We can turn these up a little bit, and we've got a nice kick and 808 going together. Sounds clean. And if you wanted to, like I said, if you want to get wild, you just go back into trash right here, and I mean, you can just push this and distort the shit out of it if you really wanted. And then you can turn off this utility if you want that stereo width. I mean, that sounds pretty hard, and you can go through, I mean, there's a ton of presets in here. You can click on anything. There, I mean, going to heavy, and obviously that's a little too much, but you can turn down this mix here. And mess with these. Honestly, my favorite so far is just going to percussive, going to deep wax, and then kind of selecting my own distortions here. And then pushing the drive as needed. So that's how you get a clean sound there. And if you want to save this, let's say you make the perfect 808, you make the perfect kick, go ahead and add a new audio track. Select this drop down right here and go to resampling. Select this red button to arm the track, and then just hit the record button. And look, now you have both of these combined into a single audio clip. You can save that, you can process it more, and you can just create a library of your own custom 808 and kicks if you want to speed up your workflow. The negative about this is it doesn't give you control of the kick and the 808 volumes in a mix later on. But if you think you've perfected it or find something that you want to reuse, this is a great way to save that in your sample library. I hope this has helped you. If you have any questions about this, please leave a comment. I'll get back to you. And I hope you learned something. And if you have any other requests or want to see a tutorial, I'll do my best to try to provide them. Thanks, guys.